Alright guys, what's up? Ryan from Elevate Security. Welcome back to continuation of this series. Now, this one might be kind of brief because like I mentioned earlier, especially in the rundown of all this, with SSH, which is what we're going to be covering today, typically there's not too many serious vulnerabilities, no RCs or anything like that, certainly. That you can get from SSH, but let me just show you how I would use it as an attacker, how I would interface with it. Now, just as good practice, we're able to fingerprint a lot of information here, so we may as well look into that information and see just what it means for us as an attacker. That's always like a good place to start when you have that kind of information. Here, it doesn't look like there's anything too serious, really. Something that mentions like what sounds to be a denial of service type vulnerability there. Nothing really serious, certainly no JPEG protocol, which is not normally even used on most servers. Like they normally don't have that configured. So yeah, I just know that from experience. But yeah, typically you don't even see too much that you can just auto-pwn with SSH because it is a pretty secure protocol. I mean, it is called the secure shell. Then again, that VSFTPD stands for very secure FTP, and clearly it was not very secure there. So there's this here, but I think this requires some information like credentials or something like that. But yeah, basically there is no auto pwn for this. But what I will show you is that, and before I continue on, I guess, our Nmap scripts came back with this. This is more of an informational type of thing. There's not too much we can do with this. This is a fingerprint of the public keys here. So because they're public keys, it is publicly available anyways, so there's not really too much we can do with the information we have here. Now, I will say, if you have the credentials, the SSH credentials, maybe you're able to get it through the anonymous FTP. Somewhere on the server they were housing a file that had the credentials. Maybe you logged on to the web server, found some pages that shouldn't have been accessible, and you found credentials. You know, maybe in the real world example, maybe you ran a phishing campaign against the employees and you were actually able to obtain their credentials or SSH credentials through that. You know, whatever means you use as an attacker, let's just imagine that in this situation that we have the SSH credentials for the MSF admin account. So the way we would use this here is we would connect to it with the SSH command line utility, which is built into Kali Linux, and I think pretty much most versions of Linux, but if not, then you can download it. In this case, we're using the apt repository, so we would get it from there if we needed it, but in this case we already have it. So we type SSH, and then we would type the name of the account. So MSF admin in this case, so the username at, and then the IP address of our target, which is 102. So now we're prompted for the password. Let's just imagine we already found it, so we already know it. It was MSF admin in this case. That's the default, and there you go. We have a shell through the SSH protocol, right? So we are the MSF admin account. So yeah, it's really as simple as that. The tough part is getting the credentials, and that can be done in an infinite number of ways, even down to social engineering. However you choose to get it or are able to get it as an attacker, once you have it, this is what you do, and then you got a shell. The nice thing is, because you're leveraging the SSH protocol for this shell, it's a pretty solid shell. You get autocomplete. You don't have to run that Python import pty.spawn and all that stuff with Control Z and STTY raw minus echo. No, you don't need to do any of that. You're leveraging the SSH protocol, so you got it pretty smooth, pretty nice shell to use. I always love when I get SSH shells, they're really nice. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is that I wanted to cover for the SSH protocol. So let me know if there's any questions, anything you want me to clear up, and I will be sure to do that. In the meantime, I'll be seeing you in the next video.